Hello everybody! Infinite Shinjo here, and welcome back to episode 6 of my Q&A series. And to break the fourth wall a little bit, happy Groundhog Day to everybody out there. Well, nobody's probably gonna really matter. Only one that really will matter is me, being from Pennsylvania, but whatever. Just wanted a nice little segue into the questions, which wasn't really nice anyway. Anyway, on to the questions. The first question comes from Megate no Gogeta, and they ask, in the new DBS Broly movie, Gogeta has become canon and is Gogeta Blue. What are your thoughts on Gogeta finally becoming canon since decades when Fusion Reborn was out, and do you think Cooler and the Super Saiyan 4 transformation should become canon next? And honestly, what I do with these Q&As, I look over the question, get a brief thought of what I'm going to say out first, and I actually didn't even realize that Cooler wasn't canon, because I thought about it and I realized, oh yeah, Cooler was only in those movies. So that's kind of interesting actually. But with Gogeta being canon, I'm not sure, because what I always make sure to say is I'm not as much up on Dragon Ball Super stuff as a lot of other people are. So the whole thing with canon in any media, Dragon Ball Super, Pokemon, whatever, it's always a tricky thing. But honestly, that's not a bad thought to have, because Gogeta was in that movie decades ago, and now in the recent Broly movie, so if they're gonna try and have that be a transition into actually having Gogeta being in the actual series, that would be pretty interesting, because this movie would be like a foreshadowing that they still remember that Gogeta exists, and they're just testing until they bring him into a new series. And that would make a lot more sense than my thought on the whole Gogeta part being in the movie, which is just something added in, I guess. I get the idea that Broly's basically unstoppable, but Gogeta being just thrown, almost seems like it's thrown in there. I get the idea of why they did it, but the idea of them testing for Gogeta to eventually become canon in the series would make more sense rather than him just being in there just for the fans. Divine Goddess asks, do you think it's possible for there to be an existing form beyond Ultra Instinct? An example would be an angelic power or something only a being of vast potential and skill can possess. I'm not sold on the idea that true Ultra Instinct is the final level for a mortal, including gods. So where do you think the ceiling is, if there is one? Thanks for being an engaging and down-to-earth YouTuber. First of all, thank you for those kind words, Divine Goddess. And I would say the short answer of this would be, I'm not sure that there is a ceiling. Because I think it's a recurring thing, a joke in the Dragon Ball community, that it's just like, oh, okay, now I'm going to give it my full power. Oh, well, now I'm actually going to give it my full power. It's always like, there's always going to be one step beyond it. So that would be the short answer of it, but I like the idea of there being like an angelic power or something of vast potential, because I can believe the idea that true Ultra Instinct isn't the final level, but I'm not sure really what is, because the way they had it set up is Ultra Instinct basically is the best according to Whis. But in the next series, whenever that happens, they could just really retcon it in saying, oh, true Ultra Instinct isn't, this new form isn't. But at the end of the day, I don't think there really is going to be a ceiling. As long as they can keep on making Dragon Ball content and keep on having new power-ups, I'm not sure if it's even possible for there to be a ceiling. The next question is from Dragon of Frost, and they ask, if you could choose to have 3 fights be canon in Dragon Ball Super, which would they be and why? Choose carefully. Ultra Instinct Goku vs. Beerus, Kaioken Blue Vegito vs. Beerus, Jiren vs. Vegito Blue, Cumber from Dragon Ball Heroes vs. Jiren, Ultimate Gohan vs. Kale, Whis vs. Ultra Instinct Goku, Golden Frieza vs. Rose Goku Black, Cumber from Dragon Ball Heroes vs. Broly from the new movie, or Hit vs. Goku Black. Oh man, you're giving me a lot of choices here. I think, just from me personally, first one is probably going to be Ultimate Gohan versus Kale. Just because I'm not sure about like the whole power thing of Gohan versus Kale, like who would win or whatever. But I just want to see something with Gohan. Because one thing I noticed from the Tournament of Power that I did watch from Dragon Ball Super, and a lot of the stuff that I watched, like random episodes from the series, is Gohan really didn't do much. Sad to say. Not as much as he did with the whole Cell saga back in the day. So I think it'd be cool to give Gohan something to do in a way. That's kind of a dumb reason, but like I said earlier, I'm not up to date on Dragon Ball Super stuff, so whatever. And the second one, you know, when I was going through these, I had an idea in mind, but I think my second one is probably going to be Whis versus Ultra Instinct Goku. Because the way I interpreted it was Goku unlocking Ultra Instinct and Whis more or less being the originator of it, or at least somebody that knows a great deal about it. So I think it would be interesting to see those two square off, because it's almost like a master and student sort of thing. And just looking at these, I'm sure that my mind's gonna change on this in 5 minutes after I record, but I think my last one is going to be Jiren versus Vegito Blue. Because the whole thing with the end of the Tournament of Power was almost like, okay, Jiren's unstoppable, Goku and Vegeta are here, they have to have some way to find some way to defeat Jiren, and it's almost like they were hinting that they could fuse. Because Caulifla and Kale fused earlier on, and Whis was just like, not Whis, Zeno was just like, yeah, okay, we'll allow it. So it's almost like they were kind of hinting about them fusing, but then didn't go along with it. And honestly, I think Jiren versus Vegito Blue would have made a much better conclusion to the Tournament of Power, just because it's like, okay, Vegito Blue would probably win because it's a fusion and the blue aura, whatnot. I think that would have been better for Jiren to lose rather than Frieza and Goku literally sacking themselves just to take out Jiren, and then 17 winning by default just because he's there. Ultra Lucario has 2 questions, and the first question is, who is your best waifu in anime? For me, I have to go with Nana Okame from My Roommate is a Cat, the pet shop owner. And that is actually a pretty funny thing that you mentioned that, because I am watching the series. The video that I discuss every anime that I'm watching from this season will either be up after this or before this. Chances are probably after this, but I'm watching that along with a couple of others. But it's funny, the episode, I don't think it was the first time, it was the most recent episode, I want to say it's 4, when he goes into the pet shop to get the cat a collar, and she's there, and I'm thinking, I'm connecting the dots in my head, and I'm realizing, oh, she's the same girl that's in the opening. And then when she says, I have a cat too, everything just clicked together, and I didn't even realize. Then I went to search online to see what was her name again, because I think she introduced herself, but I don't remember her name. But I guess there's the answer. But that's honestly not a bad choice. Funny enough, I did talk with V-Fist about it on one of his streams. There were a couple of other people there, and we just started talking about waifus, funny enough. But I think Nana is a pretty good choice. The only thing of it is, since, well, at the time I'm recording this, there's only 4 episodes. So I don't know exactly what her personality is going to be fully yet. So if I'd have to guess one based off of a personality that I know, like, developed, I guess to say, like one I watched all the way through, number 1 would probably be Hifumi from New Game. She's probably gonna be in the thumbnail, just for the record. And if I can find some funny clip of her, then it might be around here somewhere. I don't know.
じゃあ早速さっきの続きを。あれ？どうしたんですか、ひふみ先輩？喋りすぎて疲れたからもうダメ。
But I know that a lot of the time there's that whole thing of waifus in anime, and if you pick somebody that's like a little kid, then people are gonna look at you weird, which is the main reason I didn't pick Nadeshiko. Question 2, what if Ash does the same thing with Lycanroc like what happened with Ash Greninja, getting the bomb phenomenon with Lycanroc? If you think about it, Rockruff was just like Froakie, they wanted to get stronger. It could be a possibility. Honestly, I like that idea, except, I don't know. It sounds like they're done with Sun and Moon. Well, to be fair, they were done with Kalos when Ash Greninja came along, so that can hold up. But I like the idea. One thing that I would change is the part about Ash getting Bond Phenomenon with Lycanroc. Because you are right that Rockruff and Froakie are pretty similar about how they both want to be strong. But more or less, both of them are already at their forms where Ash could just really release them. Because Froakie got Ash Greninja, which is unique only to them, that they even mention in the anime. And then Ash has Lycanroc Dusk form, which is unique to him, and everybody mentions it in the anime. So, just from that alone, you could argue, oh, maybe Ash is going to release Lycanroc. But, I don't know. At the moment, it doesn't really sound like Lycanroc Dusk form is going to have that big of an impact on the anime as much as Ash Greninja did with Team Flare. So unless they throw something in last minute about, oh, Lycanroc's the only one that can save this, and you gotta release him. Because at the moment, it's just everybody being surprised at how Ash's Lycanroc looks, and not really mentioning, I feel, a great power emanating from it. And considering Sun and Moon probably pretty close to being finished, I don't see how they're gonna be able to throw in a Bond Phenomenon with Lycanroc, because it's almost done. But, I don't know. They could prove me wrong. And the final question comes from Child Misaki Ackerman. I hope I pronounced that last name right. And they asked, have you seen Jetix as a kid back in the early 2000s? If you have, what was your favorite show on that block? For me, I really love Shaman King and Sonic X. And to start, I do remember Jetix. I remember that back in the day. I don't know if it was part of Disney or something related to Disney, because I think a lot of the stuff that was on there was also on Disney, I want to say? I honestly don't really remember. But to be fair, I didn't even remember Sonic X was on Jetix, because I think where I'm at, I want to say it's called the CW, or at least it was. I don't think it's around anymore. And I've never watched Shaman King. I'm not sure if I would enjoy it. I might have to look and see. If it's not too many episodes, I might binge it if I get a chance. But I did enjoy Sonic X. I do remember watching Sonic X back in the day. I didn't finish the whole thing, but I do remember watching some episodes of it. Especially since they had the 4Kids cast that has all the roles. Like, for example, Sonic is Silent from Black and White. Knuckles is Yugi. Whole bunch of other funny voices. Like, I think Tails was the shaman from the movie, I want to say. But Sonic X is the only thing I can think of from Jetix back in the day. I'm not sure if there's anything else on Jetix that I watched back in the day. I'm about to check, and I'll let you know by the time the episode comes out. Alright, and I just refreshed the page and there are no more questions. So, up to now, I am finished on questions. And, like I did kind of joke around saying at the start of the episode, this is recorded on the 2nd of February, so if there are any questions afterwards, that's the reason I didn't get to them. I just want to make sure that I get this recorded, get the thumbnail ready. I like to get things done ahead of time because I know procrastination is a horrible thing when you get it down to it. But thank you everybody for your questions. I'm going to have a lot of fun making this thumbnail. I can already tell right now. I actually had a lot of fun talking about some of this stuff, even though the Dragon Ball Super stuff I'm not too familiar with. But if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, leave any questions and I'll get to them next month. I think I'm roughly getting back on track. I want to say the last video was in in January. I want to say I'm back on track. I only missed December, which doesn't really matter in the long run, but whatever, it's fine either way. I will see you in the next video. Momentai. 週末旅行